And I send my word, and I heal your disease. I am the Lord, your healer. This is his word. I am the God that healeth thee. I am the Lord, your healer. And I send my word, and I heal your disease. I am the Lord, your healer. You sent your word, and you healed my disease. You are the Lord, my healer. My disease, you are the Lord, I am my healer, that healeth thee. I am the Lord, your healer, and I send my word, and I heal your disease. I am the Lord, your healer. This is his word. I am the God that healeth thee. I am the Lord, your healer. I send my words, and I heal your disease. I am the Lord. Good afternoon, and welcome to another Nature's Way program. My name is Nebert Pryce, and I am sitting in for Nebert Pryce this afternoon. Just like to welcome you and thank you so very much for joining us this afternoon. It is a pleasure to be with you as per usual. We want to thank all of you who are listening to this program on the radio, and all those who have already joined us on the internet, and those who will join us in the future. We really appreciate your company this afternoon, and we hope that as we continue to look at our health and look at the Bible, then that we will indeed develop a close relationship with God. And I know that we are living in the very end of time. And because we are living in the end, we are aware of the fact that we should be living a certain type of lifestyle even today. And so this is why we continue to bring you programs such as these, so that you'll be aware of the times and the situations that we find ourselves in, and the type of diseases that are now afflicting our bodies, and how we can get them better, so that when it comes time for us to run and to move, there will be no impediment to any of these things. Before we get into our program, I invite you to bow your heads with me as we pray. Our Father which art in heaven, thank you so very much for the opportunity that you have given us to be on the air this afternoon. We invite your Holy Spirit's presence to take full control of this program. And we pray that we will submit to your leadership and the guidance, and help us as we go through this program, that we will develop indeed a closer relationship with you. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord, we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you to all those who have joined us already. Nebert Pryce, good to have you on. I'm sitting in for you this afternoon. Thank you so very much. And thank all of you who have joined us on the radio. Before we begin, let me tell you that the materials contained in this presentation is informative in nature and is not intended to serve as diagnosis, treatment, prevention, or cure for any specific health condition of our listeners or viewers. We give no guarantee of nor assume any liability for any outcome of the use of this information. Here at Nature's Way, we share because we care. This is general information. 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 31 says, whether therefore you eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God. 3 John 2 says, beloved, I wish above all things that ye may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Genesis 1 and verse 29 gives us the diet that God originally gave to mankind immediately after creation. Genesis 1 and verse 29, the diet consisted of fruits, nuts, and grains. Fruits, nuts, and grains. In Genesis 3 and verse 18, after man sinned, God included herbs into man's diet. The herbs, vegetables, and so on are added to our diet. And Psalm 104 and verse 14 says, herbs are for the service of mankind. So God knew that when we sinned, we would encounter all different type of diseases. And so he gave us the herbs of the field. In Revelation 22 and verse 2, it says the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nation. As soon as you begin your relationship with God and you begin to grow and develop into the type of person that God wants you to be, then you will immediately begin to eat of the tree of the fruit of life. I invite you this afternoon to participate in the eating so that our God will be the God that will lead you on to eternity, where you will spend all of that time with him. I invite you to turn your Bibles to the book of Mark, the book of Mark, and we are reading from chapter 13 and verse 35. It says, watch ye therefore, for ye know not when the master of the house cometh, at evening, or at midnight, or at the cock crowing, or in the morning. A study that have been done on a similar program, the Blessed Hope Review, and also the Blessed Hope Bible Study, reveals that we are living in the time of the cock crowing. And it is during the time of the cock crowing that God will come to take his people. We are living in that time right now. And because we are living in the time of the cock crowing, I invite all of you, every single one of you, to make your calling and election sure. I invite you to ensure that your relationship with God is at the place where it is supposed to be. This afternoon, we are going to be examining the Babylonian diseases affecting God's people in the third watch. We are living in the third watch. And one of these diseases is hypertension, and another is a circulatory diseases, and all diseases related to hypertension, heart condition, circulatory disease, and all of those strokes. And all of them, we're going to see if we can look at as much of them this afternoon as we possibly can. But we are not going to rush. We are going to take our time and ensure that we understand exactly what we're talking about, and want to ensure that you understand what I am saying and what is being presented to you, so that you can make the right decision. This is the topic that we have been through a number of times, and we keep getting requests from a number of persons that we need to do it again. And also we need to go into a little bit more detail as to exactly what hypertension is and how hypertension affects our bodies in the various type of ways that it does. And so this afternoon we are going to be looking at it, and we're going to be looking at the intricacies of hypertension and the other Babylonian diseases, because indeed these diseases were not meant to be among God's people. God's commandment to his people is that they should remain faithful. If they remain faithful, then none of the diseases that affect the Egyptians when the Israelites were there would affect his people. And so we realize that God's people has not been faithful to him as how God really wanted them to be faithful. And because of that, a number of diseases that affected them are now affecting us. And many times it comes to us through our lifestyle, the type of life that we are living, the type of nutrition that we are employing, the various breaches of the 8 laws of health that we have been doing over the years, to the point where our bodies have begun to be broken down, to the point where we are unable to control the things that are happening to our bodies because we have done so many treacherous things to this marvelous creation of God. Can you imagine? God created and given and gave us a perfect body, but through sin and through lifestyle, we have destroyed this excellent body that God has given to us. This afternoon, we are going to be examining this one thing and others, and we are going to see how best we can recuperate, how best we can bring our bodies back into subjection to where God wants it to be, especially at this time when God's people need to be on the go. We need to be moving. Some of us are moving to higher ground. Some of us are already on higher ground. Some of us have to be moving rapidly. And all of us are moving to preach and present the gospel as Jesus instructed us to all the world as much as we can. And so we need to have healthy bodies so that we can carry out the instructions of God. And today is Hypertension Day. And so we are going to be looking at the intricacies of it to make sure that we understand it, to make sure that we can cure our bodies of it, and to make sure that we can present our bodies as living sacrifices, holy and acceptable unto God, which is our reasonable service. This comes from Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. All right, so hypertension. When the heart pumps blood through the arteries, the blood presses against the walls of the blood vessels. In people who suffer from hypertension, this pressure is abnormally high. Let me repeat. When the heart pumps blood through the arteries, the blood presses against the walls of the blood vessels. In people who suffer from hypertension, this pressure is abnormally high. Whether blood pressure is high, low, or normal depends on several factors: the outcome from the heart, the resistance to blood flow of the blood vessels, the volume of blood, and blood distribution to the various organs. All of these factors, in turn, can be affected by the activities of the nervous system and certain hormones. If blood pressure is elevated, the heart must work harder to pump an adequate amount of blood to all tissues of the body. Ultimately, the condition often leads to kidney failure, heart failure, and stroke. In addition, high blood pressure is often associated with coronary heart diseases, arteriosclerosis, um, kidney disorders, obesity, diabetes, hypothyroidism, and adrenal tumors. Now, what are the symptoms of hypertension? What are the symptoms? Because surely, if you have any type of disease, You want to know what the symptoms are so that you can know whether or not you are being afflicted by this particular disease. Now, let me be clear. There may be no symptoms in hypertension. There may be no symptoms in hypertension. But if they occur, they may include headache, difficulty in breathing, blurred vision, rapid pulse, or a feeling of dizziness. Let me repeat what these symptoms are if they occur, because sometimes we do not see any type of symptoms in hypertension. But if there are symptoms, they may be these: headache, difficulty in breathing, blurred vision, rapid pulse, or a feeling of dizziness, lightheadedness. Overweight, a ruddy complexion, and apparently robust health may be the only outward manifestation in a man 50 or 60 who may have systolic pressure as high as 200 or more. And we will explain what the systolic means. Hypertension is called the silent killer because it rarely reveals early symptoms. And so many people, many persons may be suffering from hypertension, but they don't even know that they are suffering from hypertension because some persons may experience no symptom at all. Excessive pressure is exerted on the valves and the pumping muscles of the heart. A pressure is also exerted on the functioning lifelines in the body, which is the arteries, the capillaries, etc. This condition is characterized by a red or flushed complexion, excess weight, discomfort, and sometimes skin pallor. High blood pressure is the result of improper living habits, which cause a rundown condition in the body. Let me repeat this one. High blood pressure is the result of improper living habits, which cause a rundown condition in the body. A blood pressure gauge or spice manometer registers two readings. You know that blood pressure reading gauge? Yes, it registers two readings. The first and the higher one is called the systolic. The second and lower one is called the diastolic. And so there are two readings, one on top and one at the bottom. The one on top is known as the systolic, and the one at the bottom is known as the diastolic. The diastolic pressure occurs just before the heart beats and is less important for determining blood pressure. But the systolic pressure reveals the pressure built up as the heart pumps blood out of the heart into the aorta and thence through the arteries. High systolic pressure indicates that the cell walls are hardened and or plaque are forming in the arteries, which are narrowing the passageway. And so whenever you see a high figure, you have to pay keen attention to this, because it could mean that the walls of the cells are hardening and or plaques are forming in the arteries. Septon, welcome. Good to have you on. God is good. Nice to have you. And Debbie, as per usual, it is excellent to have you on this afternoon. I hope you have a speedy recovery. Now, average normal systolic blood pressure in an adult varies between 120 and 150 millimeters of mercury. and tends to increase with age. Let me repeat this because there are some persons who believe that your pressure should be at the same level all of the time. If it does, thank God. But as you age, the pressure changes. Now, average normal systolic blood pressure in an adult varies between 120 and 150 millimeters of mercury and tends to increase with age. The arteries of older people tends to harden and thicken with age, and this produces the higher readings in later life. The age in relation to the figures tells a lot. Systolic readings of 140 to 150 at 55 to 70 years of age need not be considered as too high, but occurring in a man of 30, it points to definite problems with which needs attention. And so if you are between the ages of 55 to 70 and you have the systolic that is reading out at the top between 140 to 150, you are the age of 55 to 70, then you need not worry too much. But if you are in your 20s and 30s and you have this reading, then you need to pay keen special attention because it means that something is definitely wrong. The age in relation to the figures tells us a lot. So normal blood pressure readings for adult vary from 110 over 70 to 140 over 90, while readings of 140 over 90 to 160 over 90 or 160 over 95 indicate borderline hypertension. And so this is when you are at the age of 55 to 70. At the age of 55 to 70, if you have readings from 140 to 190 to over 9, 140 over 90 to 160 over 90 or 160 over 95, this indicates a borderline hypertension. Any reading over 180 over 150 is far too elevated. The hardening and clogging produce changes in the arteries, resulting in hypertension that is caused by aging, emotional stress, food, overeating, and I will say hereditary. And the reason I say hereditary is that you eat the same things that your parents used to eat. There is no change. Therefore, at the same ages that they have the disease, you will most likely have the disease at the same age, or whatever disease that they have, you will also have it because you are eating and doing the same things as your parents did. If, however, you break that cycle by different lifestyle practices, then even though they had the disease, there is a high possibility that you will not have the disease because you are now breaking the cycle with your change of lifestyle. All right. Now, hypertension can result in coronary artery disease, enlargement of the heart, or it may even result in stroke. Now, let me repeat. Hypertension can result in coronary artery disease, enlargement of the heart, or even stroke. The acute infection, such as tonsillitis, scarlet fever, and typhoid fever, or focal infections such as tonsillitis or teeth sometimes lead to Bright's disease, which is a kidney disease, which is accompanied by high blood pressure. And so there are many related diseases that affect us because we have hypertension. And so hypertension usually does not travel alone. It travels with a lot of friends. travels in clusters. And so the best thing, if you don't want to have any of those clusters with it, then it is important that you ensure that your blood pressure is at the place where it is supposed to be. Sudden attacks of convulsion in pregnant women, which is called eclampsia, and other kidney diseases of pregnancies usually cause high blood pressure. Primary hypertension, about 90% of the cases, is not caused by other diseases. That is an extremely important factor in producing high blood pressure. That, let me repeat this, that is an extremely important factor in producing high blood pressure. And so we need to be careful of the things that we are eating, and not only the things that we are eating, how we are eating the things that we are eating. Because sometimes we may say that we are eating healthy, but it is how and when we eat it that the problems sometimes occur. And so you have to be careful that although you're eating the right thing, it may also cause a problem because you're not eating it at the right time. And so timing is very, very important. You need to ensure that you're also not overeating and you're not undereating as well. All right. And so you need to ensure that you're doing just the right thing at the right time. Over 60 million Americans. And when I saw this, I was amazed. Over 60 million Americans have hypertension or high blood pressure. Over 60 million Americans. Now, when I saw this figure, I immediately wondered how much it would be in Jamaica. So I immediately started to search for statistics, but I can't seem to find any reliable one. And so just to say that if it is that figure in the United States, imagine what it will be like, what the figure would be like in Jamaica. And so at any one time, about 10% of the people in America have primary hypertension. It affects over half of all people in the US over 65. African Americans have it over a third more than whites. So African Americans are affected more by hypertension than those persons who are white in the United States. And those African Americans between the ages of 18 to 44 have it 18 times more frequently than whites. And so 18, age 18 to 44 years of age, these are young ages. They have it over 18 times more frequently than whites. And listen to this one now. Women have hypertension less often than men until menopause is over. Let me repeat this. Women have hypertension less often than men until menopause is over. Then, soon after, they have it just as often as men. Now, there are some things that you can look out for, which will determine whether or not the person may have high hypertension. Now, heavy snorers are more likely to have high blood pressure than silent sleepers. This is from a study, we are told. And Julian Whitaker, MD, a medical doctor in Newport Beach, California, says volumes of scientific research shows that dietary changes can eliminate high blood pressure in most patients. And so it is very good of this medical doctor to say this, because many medical doctors really don't admit it because they want to go ahead and pump all of those drugs into their patients. But this person said, Julian Whitaker is saying, and rightly so, that research have shown that dietary changes can eliminate high blood pressure in most patients. And so most persons, once they have a change of diet and start eating at the right time and eating the right things at the right time, then it is more than likely that they will not develop high blood high blood pressure. Now listen this one carefully. Because high blood pressure usually causes no symptoms until complication develop. It is known as a silent killer, and I said this before. Warning signs associated with advanced hypertension may include headaches, sweating, rapid pulse, shortness of breath, dizziness, and visual disturbance. High blood pressure is usually divided into two categories, designated primary and secondary. The primary hypertension is high blood pressure that is not due to another underlying disease. The precise cause, they tell us, is unknown, but a number of definite risk factors have been identified. These include cigarette smoking, stress, obesity, excessive use of stimulants such as coffee or tea, drug abuse, and high sodium intake. The use of oral contraceptives used to be considered a contributing factor, but with the low dose pills now available, this is not as much a problem as it once was, because too much water retention can exert pressure on the blood vessels. Those who consume foods high in sodium uh, may be may be at a greater risk for high blood pressure. And let me be clear, when you consume a lot of sodium, a lot of salt, be sure that you read the labels carefully, because salt in itself does not cause high blood pressure, but you have to make sure that you are, reading the labels of the salt packages that you are using, because there are salt packages that have all type of things added to it, iodine and all of these things added to it and so on. Make sure that when you purchase salt, that you purchase good salt that has none of these things added, and salt such as Himalayan salt, whether it is pink or black Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, or you can find good natural sea salt. Now, these are very, very good. And the reason I am saying this is simply the fact that if you have a stroke from high hypertension and you go into the hospital, the first thing that they're going to give to you is something that is called saline. And saline is usually a mixture made up of salt and water. And so if that salt was so bad for you, then when you go to the hospital, you would not be getting the salt and water mixture. But it is because many times they know that you have not been taking in enough sodium. And so they ensure that you get salt when you go to the hospital, because salt is very, very important to the functioning of your organs, all of your internal organs. And so you must not overdo they are overuse salt, however, because there are persons who understand this logic and sometimes they overuse it. So it is when you overuse it and you do not use the right type of salt that you're going to end up with many of the circulatory issues that many persons are now faced with. And it is important also to note that salt, such as Celtic salt, assist with circulation, because sometimes when you put the Celtic salt, like a drop, one of the grains of the Celtic salt under your tongue, and you are having circulatory issues when you're like your feet are swollen, and the Celtic salt will assist with the water going into your cells. So many times the reason your foot is swollen, it is because the water is not going in your cells. And so Celtic salt is one of those salts that assist in ensuring that the walls of your stomach permits the water to go into your cells, so that it can so that you can have the proper use of the water being circulated through your body. Because when you're once your circulatory system is working properly, then what you will find is that when the blood is circulated in your body, you have the blood that is circulated, you have water that is circulated, you have food that is circulated, you have oxygen that is circulated throughout your entire body. And so you have to ensure that the route that these are traveling for circulation is free and not clogged up. And you have to ensure that when it goes to your extremities, it can do the proper function there. And so you must always ensure that you exercise and you consume a proper diet, so that the circulation can be of cannot is not there to harm you in any way at all. All right, so circulation is very, very important. All right, now let me also say this though, that let us now look at the natural remedies for hypertension. Now, what are the reasons we are doing this again and going at it in such a great detail? Is because so many persons have asked us to look at these diseases. So many persons, almost every second person you see in Jamaica today is affected by hypertension. And how do we get persons to not suffer as much as they are suffering? The first place that we are going to start is to look at the diet. Ensure that your diet is at the place where it is supposed to be. One of the problems that we're facing, though, is that many persons are consuming a Babylonian diet. And so because they are consuming a Babylonian diet, then they are going to be having Babylonian diseases. And some of the Babylonian diseases that these persons are going to be having is hypertension, and cancer, and diabetes, and so many other of these diseases. But God's people, because they would follow the 8 laws of health, as we have mentioned so many times on this program, you follow the 8 laws of health and you practice them, and you do the things that God tells you to do, then you find that you will not be having some of these diseases that fall upon people who are not God's people. And let me tell you what those 8 laws of health are. All right. The 8 laws of health consist of these things. 8 laws of health are nutrition. Nutrition. Ensure that you eat the type of food that God gave us to eat. Nutrition. And you eat it at the right time in the right way. If you don't do that, then you're going to find that you are going to be suffering with not only hypertension, but many other diseases, which means you only eat the food that God tells you that you can eat. Now, some persons say they eat anything as long as they can catch it to eat. No, that is not how God told us to eat. All right? You only eat those things that God tells you to eat. And at the top of the program, I explain what the things are that God told us to eat. These are found in Genesis 1 and verse 29. And these things are fruits, nuts, and grains. Fruits, nuts, and grains. And in Genesis chapter 3 And verse 18, God had added vegetables or the herbs of the field because God knew that we would become sick as a result of sin. And remember, I also told you that Psalm 104 and verse 14 tells us that the herbs of the field are for the healing of mankind. All right. And so nutrition is very, very important. So you eat the right things at the right time in the right quantities. All right. And so, for example, you don't eat immediately and you don't eat immediately before going to bed. You have to eat before, at least 3 hours before going to bed, so that your food can, if they as much of the digestive process as possible is completed. Some persons say 4 hours. So you eat to make sure that when you are going to bed, you're not going to bed with your stomach filled, because it means that the digestive process that is supposed to be happening um, on a normal circumstances will not happen. It does not happen when you are asleep. When you are asleep, your body is supposed to be repairing itself. That's the time your body does the repairing. And so if your body has food to digest and repairing work to take place, what do you think your body is going to do first? The digestion has to be done, and then the repairing. And sometimes when you wake up in the mornings, you wake up and you say, wait, I wonder what I just eat, because your stomach feels the same way like when you are just eating before you go to bed. All right, so nutrition is very, very important. Author Rehab, good afternoon, good to have you on. Valerie Campbell, it's also good to have you as well. So proper nutrition is very, very important. Genesis 1:29 and Genesis 3:18. Genesis 1:29, fruits, nuts, and grains. And in Genesis 3:18, herbs were added. And there is no place anywhere for flesh foods. Flesh foods were only introduced, God gave permission to eat them after the flood. And they were only supposed to be eaten for a while until the vegetation grew back. And so the flood was over almost 4,000 years ago. And so some persons are saying that the vegetation has not has not grown back. And so they are eating flesh food. And they were only supposed to eat the clean ones. They were not supposed to be eating the unclean ones. So when God gave permission, he gave permission for the clean one. But this was never a part of the diet in the beginning. It only became a part of it after the flood. And the flood has long since gone. And so we revert to the original diet that God has given to man. So the 8 laws of health: one, nutrition, and secondly, exercise. Exercise. So ensure that you do exercise. Start with light exercise like walking, and then you increase it as time goes by. The length of your walk and the way that you walk, and you may even go into running, and may even include the gym at some point. But you notice that you start off very slowly. Bring your body to the point where you can now increase and add other things to it. All right. And you don't just jump into heavy exercise like that, because you will damage your body. And so before you do any type of exercise, however, ensure that you speak to your physician and ensure that you have a proper trainer so that you do not damage yourself. All right. So the first one was nutrition. And now we are talking about exercise. We are looking at the 8 laws of health. So nutrition, exercise, and you must also drink adequate amount of water, adequate amount of clean water. All right. Ensure that you drink adequate amount of clean water. If you are not sure if the water is as clean as it should be, then you can put some charcoal in it, and the charcoal will take out some of the impediments from the water, and will, the poison that will in it will, the charcoal will suck it up. And then once it sinks to the bottom, then you can begin the process of drinking. Drink good water. Some persons say that it is only distilled water that you should drink. And so nutrition, exercise, and water. And ensure that you drink the right amount of water. And so you don't just go on a water binge or water thing. Ensure that you drink the right amount of water. Many persons don't drink adequate amount of water, and some persons drink no water at all. Ensure that you drink water, because our bodies are made up of a very large percentage of water, at least 80% water. And so ensure that you drink water. Your organs need water to function properly. Your joints need water to be properly lubricated. Your brain need water so that you can think. Your eyes need water so that you can properly blink, properly see. And all of our bodies need water, right? If we don't have water in our bodies, you can't even take a deep breath, because that is also water coming out when you speak. When you take a deep breath, when you blow out, water coming in, water coming out, water vapors. And so we have to ensure that we drink adequate amounts of water. Also, ensure that you get good sunlight. Now, this is a difficult proposition in these days, with so many of the planes crisscrossing the air and putting all type of things in the atmosphere. But it is still very important, because our bodies still need to make vitamin D and 3. And so it is the sunlight that helps us to make vitamin D3 in our bodies. And so we need sunlight to make vitamin D. And also, you have to ensure that you do not overdo it. And so whenever you are drinking water, whenever you have a proper nutrition and exercising, there's something that is called temperance, that you have to make sure that you do the right amount all the time, because even though you're doing the right thing, you can overdo it. So make sure that you're doing it the right way. And so we start with nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, and something called temperance. Also, we have to ensure that we breathe clean, fresh air. And so there are some persons who live out in areas where there are manufacturing companies, and you cannot breathe properly. You need to wake up early in the morning and to go to places where you can breathe properly, so that when you are breathing less of those things that will cause you to have cancers and all tumors and all different kind of problems. Antioxidants, when you breathe in antioxidants. And so all of these things cause cancers. And so you have to make sure that when you breathe, it is clean, fresh air that you breathe. All right. And make sure that you get adequate amount of rest. Adequate amount of rest. Many persons now are chasing the good old dollar, and so you do not sleep as much as you should sleep, because the only thing that is on the mind is to make money. Making the money is very, very important, but you have to ensure that your body receives the right amount of rest, at least 8 hours. If you are an adult, you may not need 8, you might only need 7, but make sure you go into a rhythm of sleeping and resting properly, because if you don't, your body will fall apart. And the most important thing that you need to do with this in these 8 laws of health is to ensure that you have an excellent relationship with God. Make sure that you have an excellent relationship with God. So you need to trust God. You need to have your faith and confidence in God, because He has always had your best interest at heart. And so let me repeat what the 8 laws of health are. The 8 laws of health: proper nutrition, exercise, adequate amount of water, good sunlight, temperance, clean, fresh air, adequate amount of rest, and you must ensure that you trust your creator, trust God. And so those are the 8 laws of health. Now, it is important to know that once you practice the 8 laws of health properly, that this hypertension that we are looking at will cease to be a part of your daily life. We will not even need to have a program such as this, because there would be no such thing known as hypertension. Once you practice the 8 laws of health, then many of the diseases that have now come upon mankind, they will not affect you if you are practicing the 8 laws of health. Let me repeat them: nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, air, rest, and trust in God. Godly trust. Now, let us get back to hypertension. And we are doing this program because of the fact that a number of persons have asked us to look at this one, and because so many persons in Jamaica are struggling with hypertension. And for those who came in late, let me repeat that sometimes there will be no symptoms of hypertension. You do not even know that you have it until you go to do a test. That is when most persons know that they have hypertension. But if you do have hypertension, and if you do feel the symptoms, then if you do feel the symptoms, then these are some of the symptoms, some of the things that you will feel. You'll have a headache, most of the time to the back of your head, difficulty in breathing, blurred vision, rapid pulse, or even the feeling of dizziness. These are the things that you will feel many times that will tell you that you have hypertension, or you may not feel them any at all, because hypertension is known as a silent killer because you do not feel the symptoms. It is only when you have a stroke or when you are ill, dangerously ill, that you know that you have hypertension. And as I said before, whether your blood pressure is high, low, or normal depends on several factors. The output from the heart, the resistance to blood flow of the blood vessels, the volume of blood, and the blood distribution to the various organs. All of these factors, in turn, can be affected by the activities of the nervous system and certain hormones. And so you must ensure that your nervous system is at the place where it is supposed to be. Because look here, we are at the very end of time. We are at the time when God is soon to put in his appearance. And God's people are supposed to be functioning in a way that is different from how persons normally function in the world today. You are carriers of the good news of the gospel, and you move from place to place, and you move, you preach, you teach, and you help others through your medical missionary programs. And so when you do this, then it means that you cannot allow a thing like hypertension to be a part of your life, because it would be an impediment. And so you will not be able to carry out the functions that you want to carry out properly. Also, the person that you are treating, if they have hypertension, then you should, be able to be in a position where you can educate these persons properly. Um, Most of the time, it is the lifestyle that causes hypertension to take place. And so we introduce them to a new lifestyle, a new way of eating, a new way of doing things, a new way of moving about, so on, so that they can be alleviated from this particular problem of hypertension, because it is one of the things that are killing a number of persons in Jamaica. And the results of hypertension is enormous. Almost everybody you look at today, they will tell you that they have circulatory problems, they have kidney problems, or they have heart problems. There are many different parts of the organs are not working properly, and it is because of circulatory issues. So hypertension. Now, let us now look at some of the natural remedies. Let us look at some of the natural remedies. Now, the first place that we are going to start is with diet. First place we're going to start is with diet. All right. Now, some persons will say that you must only drink distilled water. Distilled water. Now, the water that we drink is very, very important because it contributes to our health, and we should drink at least an adequate amount of water. How do you know how much water you should drink? What you do is that you take your body weight, you divide your body weight by 16, and the amount that you get tells you how much 8 ounces cup of water that you should drink. So take your body weight, divide that by 16, and that will tell you how much amount of water you should drink. Usually, if it is that you get a figure, after you get a whole number, you get some some numbers like point, after that some fractions of a number, Then if it is more than 5, you add 1. If it is less than 5, you leave it off. So if it is 11.6, it means that you should drink 12 glasses of water, 8-ounce cups of water per day. 12 cups of 8-ounce cups of water per day. Some persons, when they look at the number, they say, man, this is too much water. But all I'm saying, you put a mouthful in your mouth, put a mouthful of water in your mouth, swish it around, and then you swallow. And every time your mouth feels dry, you take another mouthful, put it in your mouth, swish it around again, and then swallow. And you will find that at the end of the day, you will even consume more than the amount that you're supposed to become the minimum, because that only tells you the minimum amount of water that you should drink. And remember, I said that the water flushes your system, it provides lubrication to your joints. It provides your organs with fluid so that you can think properly and so that your organs can work properly. And it also provides your organs with the necessary water that it needs, for example, your brain, so that you can be able to think properly. The movements supposed to be fluid and so on. And so water does that. And also there are benefits. Your skin will be brighter and shinier when you drink water. And there are many problems associated, and there are many problems in your bodies now that you find many of them eliminated because you are drinking the right amount of water and also drinking water properly. Put the water in the mouth, switch it around, and then you swallow. Put it in the mouth, switch it around, and then you swallow. All right. So some persons say only drink and distilled water. All right. And some persons say that the minimum amount of water you need to drink is 15 glasses per day. Now, I won't tell you 15 glasses per day. All I will tell you, the minimum of water you need to drink is to take your body weight divided by 16. And it will tell you how much glasses of water you're supposed to drink per day. But you must always have the adequate amount of intake, at least the minimum intake of water per day. All right. Now, if you drink the right amount of water per day, then there are certain persons now who are on blood thinners, and you have a certain type of disease, and you go to the doctor, you're on blood thinner. Did you know that if you drink the right amount of water, then you would not need to be on any type of blood thinner? That your blood is made thinner by the amount of water that you drink. All right. And so once you switch it around and swallow, then because many of these blood thinners cause problems to your body. Some of them give you ulcer stomach. Some of them allows you to have acid reflux and all different types of problems. And these are drugs. And so once you begin to take one drug, then you need another drug because of the side effect that will happen, and another drug from the side effect from to recover from the first side effect. And before you know it, you will have a pharmacy following you wherever you go. And so much pills and so much pills and so much of these things to take on a daily basis. If you had just drink the right amount of water in the first place, your account would not be depleted by all of these monies that would have gone into medicine. All right. And so make sure that you drink the right amount of water per day. All right. Now, the second thing that I would like you to do, so we're looking at that now, and we're also looking at natural remedies. Second thing that I want you to do is to eat a high fiber diet of vegetables, fruits, nuts, and whole grains. All right. A high fiber diet of vegetables, fruits, nuts, and whole grains, peas and beans, and so on. Make sure that you eat all of these things, foods that are high in fiber. If the food that you are eating does not have fiber, then leave it alone, because it would mean that you are causing yourself to be sick. So there are certain persons who, when you look at all the meal that they have eaten for a particular day, there are no fiber foods, because foods that are sometimes production food, like the ones that are made of certain type of things that are wheat and so on. You have biscuits and bread and so on, and all these things that you white rice and these things. Look at the fact. Look, read the labels. Does it say that it have fiber? Only eat those foods that have fiber. Those foods that have fiber are natural foods. Natural foods. And when you eat these natural food, you have fiber, and you won't be in a problem where you are unable to do number two. All right. So some persons say eat oat bran. It appears to say some persons say it appears to be the very best type for the purpose you have in mind. So eat oat bran, and for oil you can take 2 tablespoons of flaxseed oil daily. For some persons, I tell them to take 2 tablespoons of coconut oil daily, the cold pressed coconut oil. Take some coconut oil if you are unable to get flaxseed oil. Just take some coconut oil, to 1 spoonful in the morning, 1 spoonful in the evening. Take, just take it twice a day, and let your body also be lubricated by this. You will be amazed at the fact that many of the diseases that would normally come upon you do not come, because you are, taking in this natural oil in your body. And thirdly, what I would like you to do also is to eat a diet rich in potassium, and so mostly fresh fruits and vegetables, because it helps the body to get rid of excess, the excess sodium, excess on sodium in excess, and many things like those. Right. So eat like potato peeling soup. The potassium is richest just under the peeling of the white potato. All right, so you can eat the potato peeling soup, because um, potassium is very rich just under the peeling of the potatoes. And so there are some persons who don't peel the potato when they are cooking it; they just wash it properly. I would advise you to try and do that if you can. Wash it properly, and so that the nutrient that is immediately under the skin of the potato, that is what you need. All right, and only eat natural foods. Eat natural foods. All right, many of these production foods they have no fiber, and they are offering you nothing at all. They offer just nothing. They just so that you can get your tummy filled. But when you look at it, there is no type of nutrient that you are getting. Ensure that you go as natural as possible and eat those foods that are very rich in potassium. There are so many foods, and drink. You can drink coconut water. You can eat the ripe banana, and the ripe banana is a naturally ripe banana. I don't mean the one that you dip into some solution so that the solution causes it to be ripe. No, it is not ripe, and don't do that. Eat naturally ripe bananas, plantains, and so on. All right. Now, raw garlic. Let me tell you something about raw garlic. Raw garlic is a vasodilator. Sorry, vasodilator. Vasodilator. This word always give me a little problem to pronounce. Raw garlic is a vasodilator. All right, and it normalizes your blood pressure. Vasodilator, which is garlic, normalizes your blood pressure, whether it is too high or too low. So if your blood pressure is low, it normalizes it. It brings it to the place where it is supposed to be. If it is too high, it brings it to the place where it is supposed to be. That is what raw garlic does. All right. And so if you consume raw garlic every day, you will find that many of the problems that you are now faced with in terms of diseases, you will not have it anymore. All right. Now, if you take a commercial garlic preparation, make sure that the dosage is equivalent to at least 4,000 milligram of fresh garlic. And so you can just do it yourself. Just get some garlic, chop it up finely, get some water, and swallow. Whether you want to do it in the mornings, and whether you want to do it at midday or in the evening, just do that so that your body can receive the garlic, because it is a vasodilator. It brings your pressure to the place where it is supposed to be. Now, you can make sure that you include calcium in your diet. Make sure that you include calcium in the diet. Now, I do not want you to go ahead and buy supplements, calcium. There are foods that you can eat that has calcium in it, because your body will more readily recognize food. And if you put something in your body and your body does not recognize it as a food, then it doesn't matter what is in it, you will not benefit. All right. And so your body recognizes food. We are discussing the fact of the type of foods that you should be eating at this time, so that you are not a part of the Babylonian, you're not consuming the Babylonian diet. The Babylonian diet are those things that God did not tell you to eat, but you eat it anyway. The Babylonian diet are those type of diet that once you consume it, you will end up 6 feet under. And my grandmother used to say it is not the same day that leaf drops at the water bottom with the rats. And so sometimes it takes a little time. And so you are involved in the thing now, but you believe nothing is wrong. But then suddenly you realize that you're not at the place where you're supposed to be, because the leaf has rotted. Ensure that this does not happen to you. Make sure that you eat the foods that you are supposed to eat. Don't put anything in your mouth that is not supposed to be there. All right. Eat those things you're supposed to eat, the things that will cause you to be healthy. Because we are looking at the fact that once you eat things and you put things there that are not supposed to be there, then you're following the Babylonian garment and that. And if you are God's people at this time, then you should not be suffering from the diseases that the Babylonians suffer from. You should be living a healthy life, because you are the ones now who are going to be helping others so that they can now become healthy, because there are many sickness going around today. And if you are not well, and if you can't move around as well, then you will not be able to help as much persons as you possibly can, so that these persons can now become, their health can now come at the place where it is supposed to be. um, some persons say that grape seed extract contains something that is called OPCs, and it tends to lower high blood pressure, which can, um, so you will prevent yourself from having heart disease. So OPCs prevent you from having heart disease, and you get this from grape seed extract. Now, some time ago on this program, I told you that when we were young, we used to go to the seaside and eat a lot of these grapes that we call sea grape. And sometimes we used to throw up the seeds and suck them out and then spit them out back. But we didn't know that when we were eating these things, that we were getting some amount of nutrients from this. The grape, and those natural grapes on at the seaside, is excellent. And when you chew it up and you swallow this and you spit out the seed but swallow the juice, you are getting a whole lot of nutrients from those seeds that you chewed up and swallowed. But grape seed extract is excellent, excellent, excellent for your heart. And so it is very good to just go back to relive your childhood, walk along the seaside, see if you can find any of these sea grapes and eat them again. Throw up the seeds. Once you have chewed it up and suck the juice or spit it out, and then you find that sooner or later that you'll be very, very healthy again. These are the things that we used to eat as the between meals that we eat. We never used to eat these manufactured foods. These are things you used to eat that used to be healthy. All right, so maybe we can get back to things like those. Tomatoes. Tomatoes contain a compound known as gamma amino bitric gamma amino bitric acid, and it is short for GABA. Now, it reduces high blood pressure and helps strengthen the heart muscles. There are a number of other vegetables, including garlic and onion and celery, which also contains GABA. Now, ensure that you continue to eat the tomatoes. But let me tell you a secret about the tomato. See if you can get the old time tomato, the one that used to grow at the back of your yard, and the one that those trees grow up and get those little tomatoes. Try and eat those. Or if you buy the tomato, ensure that the tomato you buy have only one center. Because nowadays you buy tomatoes and when you cut it open, you see it has a number of centers in it. Now, our bodies only have one heart, And so when you eat food, you only eat it with one center. One center. You don't eat food that have a number of centers. And so you eat those little tomatoes only have one center in it. And so don't eat those many different tomatoes. They are GMO foods. And the GMO food does nothing but to give you cancer. And so you have to be very careful as to the type of food that you are eating. We eat food so that we can become healthy. All right. It's not just to get a belly full that we eat food. We eat it so that we can remain healthy. And so, whenever you go to eat, ensure that you eat those things that will cause you not to get sick. Because there are many foods that we eat now that causes us to get sick. All right. And so, eat tomatoes that has only one center. The old time tomatoes are good. We call them tomatis. The one that you had at the back of your yard that you used to, um, they grow as if they grow wild. Eat those ones. Very good for us. And garlic and onion and a celery. Celery. Eat a lot of celery. Eat celery until you go in the market, buy the celeries that are found in the market. Try not to buy the supermarket ones. Those are big and fat and look like they have a lot of things added to it in order to get it big and fat. Try to get it in the market, the food market. Go to the back of the food market and see if you can find somebody selling it and buy some of those ones. Number one, it's cheaper, and number two, it is more nutritious. These are GABA foods, and these GABA foods helps our heart to be healthy. And so we eat these type of foods. All right. Now, if you can eat 4 stalks of celery on a daily basis, it is shown to lower blood pressure measurably. So there are some persons who have high blood pressure, and they find that you're trying all kind of things and it is not working. And so I'm telling you this now from experience, that I used to have this thing when I was very young, 22, 23. The doctors told me I had it. And so one of the things I had to learn to do was to drink water properly, and I developed a love for celery. All right, celery tastes very good and it is very nice. And so you go in the market and you buy the celery. They found in the back of the market. A number of persons normally have them buy celery, and you eat them in between meat. Man, these are so nice. At first, it used to be a little bit salty to me, but these are celery, and then you find that it is becomes easier to be digested. So eat about 4 stalks per day. 4 stalks per day. It helps to lower your blood pressure, and it is made up of about 98% or more water. And so when you eat these celeries, you are eating not only fiber, but water is coming in your system as well. Broccoli has 6 chemicals that reduce blood pressure. Did you know this? Broccoli has 6 chemicals that reduce blood pressure. 6. And so try to see if you can find broccoli, good broccoli to buy in the market. This will assist. And carrots contain 8 compounds that lowers your blood pressure as well. And so broccoli has 6 chemicals. Carrots have 8 chemicals, that 8 compounds that lowers it as well. So buy some broccoli, buy some carrots, buy some celery in the market, and onions and garlic and tomatoes, and buy these things, and you find flaxseed, and you find that you will become healthier. Your body will have the type of nutrients that it needs, so that when you talk about high blood pressure coming in your body, it would not be your body that is being referred to. It will be somebody else's body. And can tell persons what type of foods that they can now eat to lower their blood pressure. You notice that I haven't even started to speak about herbs as yet. I'm just don't reach the herb part yet. I'm just telling you about the food that you can buy, foods that you see on a daily basis in the market that you can buy that lowers it. And try to eat the foods found at Genesis 1 and verse 29. Fruits, nuts, grains, vegetables came at Genesis 3:18. Fruits, nuts, grains, Genesis 1:29. See if you can eat these things, because these things will bring you back to the place where you are supposed to be in terms of health. When you eat Flesh food has no fiber. Egg has no fiber. And there are persons who say, oh, I have to eat an egg every day. It has no fiber. Flesh food has no fiber. Eat those foods that only have fiber. Those foods that will assist your body. All right. And so don't eat those that will not assist you in any way at all. Antioxidants. Antioxidants help prevent artery clogging and artery clogging plaques from being deposited on coronary artery walls. And so you see the artery where the blood flows through. Now, antioxidants help to prevent these things from clogging and clinging to the walls of your arteries. Now, the foods that include these antioxidants are foods that you see on a daily basis in the supermarket, foods that you can buy readily almost any day per week. You can even begin tomorrow to get some of these foods to buy in the market. Asparagus, buy asparagus, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, potatoes, tomatoes, oranges, grapefruits, and peaches. Notice that I tell you grapefruits because you know when once you are begin to take the pills that they give you for high blood pressure, they tell you not to take grapefruit. But did you know that if you eat a grapefruit a day, it will help to fight against antioxidants that causes your arteries to clog up and the plaques to build on the sides of your arteries? And so let me repeat the foods now that you can purchase when you go to purchase foods on a daily basis. See if you can go in the market and buy some asparagus, broccoli. If you can't get asparagus, leave that out. Buy broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, potatoes, tomatoes, oranges, grapefruit, and peaches. Let me repeat. Buy things, buy things like broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, potatoes, tomatoes, oranges, grapefruit, and peaches. Let me tell you what the National Research Council urges Americans to strive for 5 of these on a daily basis. And so the, the National Research Council urges Americans to strive for at least 5 of these. Eat 5 of these on a daily basis, and you will find that your body will get enough antioxidants to fight against diseases as they come into you. When you eat, when you take a deep breath, antioxidant enters your body because our air is so polluted. So once you breathe in, antioxidants come in. When you eat food, antioxidants come. What are the foods that helps with these? Let me repeat them. Asparagus, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, potatoes, sweet or the other potato. We call it Irish or Canadian or Idaho, whichever country you want to, or whichever place you want to associate with it. We call it Irish in Jamaica. So asparagus, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, potatoes, sweet and otherwise, and other potatoes, tomatoes, oranges, grapefruit, and the peaches. The National Research Council urges Americans to try for 5 of these, just 5 on a daily basis. That is at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables each day. And many nutritionists say 8 or 9 serving is even better. And only 10% of Americans can even eat 5. In Jamaica, all of us can find these to eat because these are all in any market person you see, maybe on the roadside, or you go in the market, you can find these things on a daily basis to eat. Let me repeat them. Asparagus, you might not see the asparagus as often as you would like to see it, so can leave that out. Broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, potatoes, tomatoes, oranges, grapefruit, peaches, fruits and vegetables. Try to include these in your diet on a daily basis. And what you'll find is that high blood pressure will disappear from you. I haven't even told you about herbs as yet. We are only looking at foods. So can you imagine the foods that you eat will help you to rid your body of hypertension? So get these foods on a daily basis to eat. Now, apple. Do you know that apple pectin tends to lower blood pressure? I have a friend who used to tell me that when you buy apple and once you put the hot water on it and get rid of the thing that they put on it, um, immediately below the skin of the apple is something that is very good for you. But when we did the research in Jamaica, we found that the same thing is found in our local apples, or Tahiti apple. Immediately below the skin is the same type of thing that you need. And so if you were to eat this on a daily basis, or as much as you can get it, because it is seasonal in Jamaica, our apple is seasonal, then what you find is that when you eat these things, then you will not have high blood pressure, because high blood pressure is a silent killer. You have it and you don't know that you have it. And you see the rate at which your blood flows through your arteries is very, very important. Remember that these foods that I'm now telling you to eat, some of them are known as GABA food. GABA food means that it will take away those things that clogs to the side of your arteries and prevent the blood from flowing through properly. And you prevent your arteries from being clogged up. This is why we say that if you want to have good blood pressure, not high blood pressure, but good blood pressure that is at the normal rate, that your diet is very, very important. The amount of water you drink, the amount of rest that you get, the amount of exercise that you get, eating the right nutrition also, potassium in your diet, eating raw garlic and fruits and nuts and even oat bran, tomatoes, grape extract, celery, these things. And these things are found almost anywhere in Jamaica. The grapes, well, all you can do is walk by the seaside. Look if you see any of these sea grapes in Jamaica bearing. These have a season too. And you go there and you eat them and chew up the seeds and spit out it, suck the juice out and spit it out. Because this is very, very good for you. Notice that when you were a child, that you were so healthy because you were eating all of these things. And these things used to help a lot. All right, so let us now look at nutrients. And so we look at the diet. So let us now look at the type of nutrients that you need on a daily basis to ensure that you do not have hypertension. We are looking at hypertension because there are so many persons who have asked us to. And so we are trying to break it down now to levels that everybody can reach to, because there are some persons I cannot find this herb, I cannot find this one, and I don't know what this looks like. Now we are giving you foods that you can purchase that will help you. We are telling you the type of diet that you should eat that can help you to avoid to your body to be healthy, so that you do not have high hypertension. All right. Now let us look at some of the nutrients that you need to get. Now, antioxidant-rich vitamins include vitamin C, vitamin E, folic acid, carotenoids. And many studies have shown that as consumption of these nutrients increases the risk of heart attack, falls by at least 40%. So if you eat these things, 40 you will at least 40% of the time you, because remember, the foods that we eat and the type of things that they put in them, 100%, you're at risk 100% of having a heart attack. Now we are telling you that it will fall by as much as 40%, and cancer will drop as much as 50% when you try to eat vitamins C and E and folic acid and carotenoids. You are putting yourself in a healthy position. Make sure that you C and E, your fruits, vegetables, fruits, your fruits, oranges, grapefruit, tomatoes, and vegetables, cauliflower, broccoli, and all of these things. Peaches for vitamin C and E, vitamin E. You can get vitamin E from your vegetables. folic acid and carotenoids you can get from your vegetables. Vitamin C with bioflavonoids. If we try to aim for at least 1,000 to 5,000 milligrams, though, try to get these in the foods that you eat, because if you have too much sodium in your system, this is what will flush your systems of these. All right. And so fruits and vegetables, again, very important. Try to see if you can get the B vitamins. The B vitamins are very, very important, and you can get these from the nuts and grains that you should eat on a daily basis. Try to cut down on the amount of peanuts and to see if you can eliminate it, but eat other nuts as much as you possibly can. As much nuts as you possibly can on a daily basis. Eat these and they will help. All right. And you need also magnesium, and these are very rich in magnesium. Did you know string beans are very rich in magnesium? And if you get some string bean and some coconut water, blend it and make a green juice, that you have the potassium that you need and the magnesium that you need, and you will be very, very healthy as a result. All right. Vitamin D is very important to eliminate high blood pressure. Vitamin D. And our bodies produce vitamin D when we go out in the sunlight. It still happens, even though when you look up in the sky, you notice a lot of crisscrossing takes place with the plane, and all of these chemicals are coming down at you from above. But the sunlight is so very important, so that your bodies can produce vitamin D. You need this on a daily basis. All right. And the protein, you need taurine, which is an amino acid. And this also is used to lower your blood pressure. Um, Protein gives you amino acid when it comes in contact with the bile from your pancreas. And so, our pancreas produces bile. And when we eat protein, our protein is converted to amino acid. And so we have to make sure that we eat protein. And how do we get our protein? From beans and peas and all of these grains, and nuts too. Make sure you eat a lot of nuts. You get not only magnesium, not only these things are limited to, you also get protein. And so you need protein as well. Now, let me tell you some of the things that you should avoid quickly. Tell us some of the things that you should avoid. Now, avoid habitual overeating. I'm not telling you that once in a while it will get away from you, but avoid the habitual overeating. And even of good food, all right, it will lead to hypertension. So even if you overeat of good food, sometimes it will lead into hypertension. A person does not tend to overeat on health foods, though, because sometimes person say, boy, I don't like these healthy foods, but try not to overeat at any time. Sherbian, good evening, good to have you on as well. Excessive protein food and sweets and rich pastries and dessert must be omitted from your diet. These things that are processed, and they tell you that it has all of these things. It has protein, it has all of these things in it. Try to avoid the sweets and the pastries and these excessive proteins. They tell you these must be omitted. But the reduction in quantity of all foods is especially important. All of these type of foods, eliminate them. And when you use salt, ensure that you try to use the Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, or the natural sea salt. Don't use any of those salts that have all of these things added to it. Once you start to read the packet and you see this is added, that is added, and so on is added, and all of these things, put it down. Go back to your Himalayan salt. Use those type of salt. And do not eat meat. Did you hear me? I said do not eat meat. It has no fiber. It has nothing to contribute to you, because you would eat it to get protein principally, and you get protein from eating and nuts and grains, peas and beans and so on. So why would you need for the blood that is in it? No, we should not eat blood. And so do not eat meat and do not eat canned vegetables as well. Eliminate all dairy products, for they are high, very high in some type of sodium that your body does not need. You see the type of salt that I'm telling you about, these additives, things are added to it. These are all found in these these canned products, canned vegetables, canned these all of these canned things. Try to eliminate them as much as possible. And I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of reading when you go to purchase things. Whenever you go anywhere to purchase, read the things, read to see what is on there and the things that you are buying. Read the product, read the bags, and see what is on it. Make sure that you're not buying poison. Make sure you're not buying things that will cause you to get sick. All right, so read these things as much as possible. Avoid things like soft drink and that drink and soy sauce and tenderizers and soften the water and baking sodas and all of these things. Avoid all of these things because these things are not good for you. MSG. So let me repeat them. Soy sauce and baking sodas and preservative and meat tenderizers and soft drink and soften the water and all of these kind of things. These things contribute to high blood pressure. As a matter of fact, when you put them in your mouth to drink them, your body don't even know what to do with them. Many times just push it out back because it has no use for it. Cannot get anything from it. It does not contribute anything to the healthiness of your body. So try not to consume these things. All right. So do not eat meat or canned vegetables and eliminate dairy products. There's nothing that dairy products can contribute to you. If you need cheese, there are natural cheeses that you can make it yourself. There are many type of natural cheeses that you can make, and I say you don't even need these dairy products. All right. Do not eat any animal fat or grease or unsaturated butter and margarine and these things. These things will increase the fat, will increase high blood pressure. And these things, my grandmother used to say, rotten your bone. All right, I say don't eat any of these things. Animal fat, grease, unsaturated fat, butter, margarine, and all of these things. Um, these things contain products that some of them will lower um, your blood pressure. Sometimes you block out and you don't even know what causes these things. Animal fat and grease and unsaturated fat and butter and margarine. Eliminate these. Do not eat chocolate, alcohol, cheese, or yogurt. These things, it's not good for you. Let me quickly say that there are some yogurts that are made from some plant-based yogurt, but try to eliminate as the taste for these things. Try to eliminate some of these things as much as possible. All right. Try not to eat late. Try not to eat late, because when you eat late, the digestive process cannot take place the way that it should take place, and so it causes high blood pressure to happen. Do not take antihistamines. Do not take antihistamine. These things contribute to increasing your high blood, increasing your blood pressure as well. All right. Stress and fear and anger and pain. Now, stress and fear, anger. I remember when I was telling you about the 8 laws of health. There's one of them there that is trust in God, godly trust. Did you know that God can cause you, or God calls you to, when you have faith in God, when you put confidence in God, you will not find yourself being stressed out or being fearful, or you will not find yourself being angry all the time, because God helps you to manage these things. When you just leave everything to God, let Him guide you and direct you, because you will come to the place where you understand that there are some things that you just cannot change. So you put those into God's hand, let God deal with those things. The things that you can change, then you deal with those. But there are some things that you cannot deal with. Pain. Pain, there are some persons who go through a lot of pain. But there are herbs and there are certain type of exercise that you can do to alleviate yourself from having some of those pain, because these things increase blood pressure. Pain increase blood pressure, stress increase blood pressure, and fear and anger increase blood pressure. Exercise helps to reduce the effects of stress. And so when you exercise, it reduces stress. All right. And so blood pressure will go down. Noise raises blood pressure. Eliminate loud and sudden noises. And so when you live in the country, when you live up in the hills, you won't live near to somebody that blasts these music things all the time and wake you up in the middle. When you are asleep in the middle, you just hear a big blast of music start to play. Live in the country areas where none of these things take place. And so, it helps to eliminate many of these things that causes high blood pressure. All right. Smoking is dangerous. Smoking is dangerous for your health. The tar buildup in your lungs is terrible, terrible. There are some persons who say that because nicotine, when they say nicotine can be used to heal certain disease, then you can smoke it. There is nothing farther from the truth. It's nothing farther from the truth. There are nicotine that you can drink. For example, nicotine that is found in tomatoes, for instance. Every time you eat tomato is about I think it's the second highest in nicotine. When you eat tomato, or I think it is the third highest in nicotine, tomatoes. Third highest in nicotine. The second highest in nicotine is eggplant. Second highest is eggplant, third highest is tomato. And so you eat these things because of what they can contribute to your body. All right, the nicotine that are found in these natural things, these are not being manufactured in any way, or not being manipulated in any way so that they are deleterious to your health. Because there are some things that are found naturally in plants like tomatoes and eggplants that are good for you, and that these actually contribute to lowering high blood pressure, and it contributes to preventing you from having many of these types of disease. But these things that are found in these, sometimes they don't tell you that it is in it, because they say, well, you're going to be afraid, but it is actually in it as well. It is in tobacco leaves, so we try to avoid tobacco at all costs. But you can find it in eggplant and tomatoes, and there are other foods that you find it in this natural state. It helps to build your body. But when it is manufactured, it creates a tar, and when you smoke it, creates a tar in your lungs, and it is bad for you. All right. And so some of the chemicals, although smoking is dangerous, chemicals in tobacco can tighten your arteries, now raising your blood pressure. It can also damage your lungs and other organs. All right, the chemicals that are found in tobacco it is deleterious to your health. You can do a pulse test on yourself to find out whether or not the type of foods that you're eating are causing a problem. A pulse test. What you do when you do a pulse test, because sometimes you have to do this and to find out whether or not the food that you are eating is deleterious to your health. So a pulse test is whenever you eat certain type of foods and your pulse seem to raise, maybe within a few minutes after eating it, then you realize that these foods are bad for your health. Now, what you do is that you put these two fingers at a place in your body that you can feel your pulse almost immediately. Now, the place I'm putting my finger now, right, is right between the esophagus and the carotid artery. The carotid artery is what you call the carotid vein. At your carotid vein, the pulse there is very high. And so you eat a particular food, They have found some foods that you eat, and then you wait a few minutes, and then you put your hand there, and when your pulse, right, when your pulse begin to race, then what you find is that these foods are deleterious to your health, and it will raise your blood pressure. And so it takes time to do this pulse test, and it takes time but you want to know whether or not certain foods are having a deleterious effect on you. So you eat it, you wait a few minutes, and then you do the test. Where your carotid artery is, we know it as your jugular vein. So your carotid artery, right between your carotid artery and your esophagus. You put your finger right there, and you find that when you put it there, the pulse is very high. You cannot miss it. You put it there. This is why most persons they try to determine whether or not somebody is dead or alive. You see, one of the first things they do is to put their hand right there and do the test. But it is between your esophagus and your carotid arteries. The pulse at that area is very, very high. And you eat the food, you put it there, and then you will know whether or not this food is bad for you. They call this a pulse test. And so you do this test many times to find out if you should continue eating a particular type of food or don't eat a particular type of food, or you just wait to see the effect that the food will have on you. All right. Nebert Pryce saying when the nicotine is lighted, the smoke is bad for your lungs. Excellent. That is true. It's first hand or second hand smoke is terrible for you. Did you know that nicotine is related to niacin? And sometimes when we go, almost every herb that we drink, all of the herb, um, that we drink for health purposes. We almost all the time look out for niacin to ensure that we get niacin in our system, because it goes to healing, and it goes to the flow of blood in our system. It thins out blood and helps it to flow properly, and it helps and it gives us energy. But once you put that in a cigarette and light it, it is a different thing from when you use it as a herb, and you make it into a herb for medicine. Smoking it is different. When you smoke it, it causes problem with your lungs, and it builds tar in your lungs, and it is not good for you any at all. All right, let us now look at some herbs. So we have looked at the diets, we have looked at the nutrients, and now let us look at some herbs that you can use now for hypertension. Now this is the part that a number of persons were waiting for, because you want to see what are the herbs that you can use for hypertension. All right. To lower hypertension, fennel contains 10 compounds that lower blood pressure. Did you know this? Fennel contains 10 compounds that lower blood pressure. For those of us who live in this area, when you go into Otrius, fennel is sold there in the Otrius market. You can, and there are many markets that it is sold. Thank you very much, Debbie. When you smoke it, it becomes a harmful chemical that destroys your cell, and your blood now your body has to compensate for that, causes your blood pressure to increase, and the impediments in your artery will cause a problem. All right. Now, fennel contains 10 compounds that lower blood pressure. Oregano has 7. Oregano has 7. Basil and basil. Basil, whether it is the basil you grow at home or the wild one, then basil has six chemicals that lowers blood pressure. Now, when you look at the herbs, you have to look at using the herbs to lower blood pressure. And once you know what is found in these herbs, then it is excellent for you. You can use it then, knowing with confidence that this will help to lower the blood pressure. Now, hawthorn, which is found in Jamaica, and you can get it at the health food store to purchase. Hawthorn extract can dilate or widen the blood vessels, especially the coronary artery. It has been used as a heart tonic for centuries, and you can make a tea from it, and you can boil this, and it is good for you. Now, hawthorn is when you use broomweed. In the same way you use hawthorn, you use broomweed. Now, almost everybody in Jamaica know of broomweed. It is the weed that you use to look outside with the yellow flowers that they tell you to use to sweep up a yard. All right, when you're small, or your grandmother or some persons tell you, if you're a country person, they say, go get some broomweed and sweep the yard. All right, broomweed is excellent for widening the coronary artery as well, and it helps with the flow of blood. Now, once it widens the coronary artery, there are things that you put with the broomweed now that also helps. And so you put garlic with it, ginger, and hibiscus flowers. So the broomweed, garlic, ginger, hibiscus flowers. Let me repeat: broomweed, garlic, ginger, and hibiscus flowers. Now, these things help to widen so that the blood can pass through without obstruction. All right, and it helps. Now, cayenne pepper is excellent for lowering blood pressure. Cayenne pepper, very, very good for lowering your blood pressure, because what it does, it causes the blood to flow through. It thins your blood so that it causes the blood to flow. But what we want you to do is to make sure that it not only thins it, it can flow through properly. And so with the cayenne pepper, you add a little bit of turmeric. Turmeric helps to carry the blood through your veins as well. Yes, Debbie, thank you very much. Garlic and cinnamon and basil and ginger also helps to lower hypertension. I can tell you about the cinnamon. The cinnamon works because the cinnamon thins out your blood as well. All right, and you need things that thins out your blood. Incidentally, cinnamon was one of the things that the persons in South America used to use when you get an insect bite and they wanted to cure it. The cinnamon leaf and the cinnamon bark that they used to tell persons to go and drink that. And they used to give them a whole lot of cinnamon with some other pods to drink, and it will get rid of the poison that is in their system. Now, I don't know how much you should drink, and I don't know the process in which they used to use it. I just know they used to use it. And so if insect bites, consult your physician. All right. And so you can do that. So to lower your blood pressure, garlic, cinnamon, basil, ginger also helps to lower hypertension. All right. Dozens of studies, especially in Germany and Russia, have found that the major constituents of valerian roots, the valiprostrates, is the cause of lowering, can cause the blood pressure to be lowered. All right, and so valerian root extract can cause that to happen. And here's a formula for high blood pressure: mix 2 parts of chamomile and peppermint. So 2 parts of chamomile and peppermint, and combined with 1 part of fennel and anise, caraway, and milfoil, and you should steep it. Steep 1 teaspoon in a half cup of boiling hot water, and take 1 to 1.5 cups daily in mouthful dosage. All right, let me repeat this. Let me repeat this for you. Um, Mix 2 parts of chamomile and peppermint, combined with 1 part of fennel and anise and caraway and milfoil. Steep 1 teaspoon in a half cup of boiling hot water, and take 1 to 1.5 cups daily in mouthful dosage. It will help. All right, here is another remedy that I can also tell you. We get the hibiscus blossom and bamboo leaves. Hibiscus blossom and bamboo leaves is excellent for that purpose as well. Um, One of the things that we should do is that when we go to look, try to find the things that are good for high blood pressure. try not to use those things that are mucus forming. All right, there are some herbs that form mucus um, in our body. So try not to use those herbs that are mucus forming. Um, try to you can do the research on them. Just look at herbs, put in your phone. Many persons have phone now. Just look at herbs that are mucus forming, and try to not use these when you are looking for herbs to lower your blood pressure, your high blood pressure. All right. Make sure no we can now look at some of the exercises that you can do or exercise. Make sure that you do an amount of outdoor exercise. Outdoor exercise is very good to help to lower blood pressure. Because when you do these exercises, one of the things you find is that your blood flows through your coronary arteries and your heart begins to pump the blood. And it is the pumping and the flowing and the vigorous pumping and flowing that will help you sometimes to lower your blood pressure. And once you do this on a daily basis, exercise is so very good for that purpose as well. Um, Make sure that you check your blood pressure um, often. Check your blood pressure regularly, especially if you have a blood pressure problem or if you are pregnant. Check your blood pressure. It is important to know what it is because you do not want to be in a position where you don't know what it is and end up in problems, or sometimes you forget that you should not eat a particular type of food and you eat this particular food. When you eat it, you find yourself in a whole lot of problems. All right. Make sure that you get adequate amount of rest. Adequate amount of rest. Sleep is very good. So exercise and sleep and proper diet. The 8 laws of health, very important to follow once you are looking at lowering your high blood pressure. 8 laws of health, and the 8 laws of health are nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, fresh air, rest, and godly trust. So very important to lower blood pressure. Eat a lot of food, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. A lot of fruits and vegetables you can eat. Um, and hydrotherapy is very important too. When you go to bathe, don't just do something soft. Just rigorously soap your body and rigorously wash it off. All right, so to promote the flow of blood. This will promote the flow of blood and it will also help you to sleep better. All right, when you do that, when you go to take a bath as well. Okay, what is the encouragement I want to give you for this section? High blood pressure is not it is not a death sentence. It is not something that exists only because it is here to kill you. It is there to tell you that something you are not doing something right, or you need to do something else. And when you do something else, many times it leads you into a better relationship with God. It helps you to form a better relationship, and it also helps you to recognize that once you do things that are not right, then your body will also respond. And it will lead you to a place where you do not want to go. It says God can help you overcome the sins which so easily beset you. He can give you enabling grace to obey his 10 commandments and remain true to him in spite of the compromise and weakness in our world. Read Jeremiah 3, verses 12 and 22, and this will explain more to you. Also, once you practice the 10 commandments, even today, in Revelation chapter 22 and verse 14, it tells us that we will have a right to the tree of life. We will have right to the tree of life once you practice this. All right, practice the Ten Commandments. There are some persons who will tell you that the Ten Commandments are not to be obeyed now, that God's commandments are not to be obeyed now. But guess who Satan has most problem with? In Revelation 12 and verse 17, it says that the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnants of her seed. And guess what they do? They keep the commandments of God and they have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Now, the commandments of God is the same ones that are found in Exodus chapter 20 and Deuteronomy chapter 5. Those are the commandments of God. Exodus 20, and in the middle of the commandment is the Sabbath commandment. And Sabbath in the Bible is not Sunday. Sabbath in the Bible is Saturday. And if you keep the commandments of God the right way that you should keep it, the Bible says Satan has a problem with you. And he will come after you with everything that he has because he do not want you to be saved into God's kingdom. And so my advice to you is to ensure that you keep God's commandments. Some persons will tell you that you are unable to keep them. But let me quickly tell you that Philippians 4 and verse 13 says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. And so God will give you the ability, God will give you the strength, God will give you the know-how, and he will give you the secret of how to live a happy and trustful life with him. As a matter of fact, it is no secret. It is just being obedient to him and to have faith in him and to trust him. Because guess what? Guess who the saints are? The saints are those persons that keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus. And these persons are found in Revelation chapter 14 and verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus Christ. And so if you are to be called a saint, it means the requirements are that you must keep the commandments of God and you must also have the faith of Jesus. Now, the faith of Jesus is not something hard to come by because Romans chapter 12 and verse 3 tells us that every man that comes into this world is given a measure of faith. As you begin to broaden your knowledge as to who Jesus is and the requirements that God have on your life, then you begin to trust him and understand him. And you begin to now look at the life of Jesus as an example. And you may even start to have the Holy Spirit replicate Jesus in your heart. And you will now develop that faith, that long-lasting faith that is so very important for you to be called a saint. To be called a saint by God is so very important, not by man, because man has called a number of persons saint, but these persons did not keep the commandments of God and they did not have the faith of Jesus. But the Bible tells us that in order for you to be a saint of God and to be identified as a saint by God is to keep the commandments of God and have the testimony and have the faith of Jesus. The faith of Jesus, the same type of faith that Jesus exhibited. You know, Jesus went through hardship and trials, but through all of these things, he did not sin. He did not turn his back on God in one instance. He allowed God, his Father, to take him through. God is also our Father, and we can rely on him to carry us through whatever problems that we face on a daily basis, irrespective of what these problems are, because there are some persons who say that these problems are so big They are so large that God cannot help. But did you know that it is these problems that God specializes in, the one that we regard as too big, that God cannot help us? You see, when the Bible in Titus chapter 2 and verse 11 says that the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men. And then the other verse says it teaches us. Now the grace of God teaches us how to live godly in this world. So what God specializes in is these things that we regard as too big for him to handle. He specializes in giving us knowledge so that we can know how to live above sin. Today, my friends, we went through this particular study on hypertension and high blood pressure. And we looked at the fact that it is one of these diseases that comes about as a result of our lifestyle. If we change our habits, the things that we are doing that are not right, if we change the way we eat, the way we relate to God, the way we carry out the 8 laws of health, how we carry out the functions that God has given us, then we can live way above sin, especially in these days when Christ is soon to come. We do not have to follow the Babylonian system where we eat anything we feel like eating and we do whatever it is that we feel like doing. It sounds good, but it will lead to a deleterious health. You'll have heart attack, you'll be prone to stroke, and you'll be prone to a number of things. The Babylonian way is to do what you want, eat what you want, and have fun. But God calls upon people who are disciplined and who wants to do those things that are right in his sight so that these persons can now lead others to him. My advice to you is this: God invites us to follow him in everything we do. Remember, earlier I quoted a text that says the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnants of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Guess what the testimony of Jesus Christ is? Revelation 19 and verse 10 says the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecies. Now, there are certain books that are known as the spirit of prophecy books that you can read. And these things, the experience of the persons who are made, the same persons who are in the Bible, the experiences of these things, these persons are properly explained to us. And we now understand how they got to be so faithful and how they lived, the reason they lived their life for Jesus Christ. I call upon you today. Give Jesus the problems that you have. Allow him to take control of your life. Live the life that counts. Live for Jesus Christ in every way possible. Live in such a way so that you do not only practice the right type of eating, the right type of food that you're supposed to be eating, you practice righteous living so that Jesus Christ can carry you through. May God bless you. May God help you as you continue to grow and develop in the type of persons that he wants you to be. We invite you to join us tomorrow morning between the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. when Marvin and Nebert will come and we will do your morning Bible study. So we invite you to join us then. And when you join us tomorrow morning during our Bible study, we will tell you what will happen on Tuesday between the hours of 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. and what will happen on Wednesday and Thursday between 7 to 9. I know you will want to be a part of those things as well. I thank you so very much for joining us. I thank you very much to be a part of this program this afternoon. And may God help you and bless you as you continue to serve him. I invite you to pray with me at this time. Our Father which art in heaven, we thank you for your blessings. We thank you that you were with us this afternoon. We pray that those who are within the hearing of my voice will understand the call that you have placed on them and will turn their lives over to you. We pray, dear God, that they will practice healthful living and that all of the diseases that affect people who do not belong to you, people who have turned their backs on you, will not affect these persons because they will obey you and continue to live in the way that you want them to live. Thank you for going through this program with us this afternoon, and may God continue to bless and guide all of us as we worship Him in the beauty of holiness. Amen. May God bless you and keep you. May God cause His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto every single one of you. Thank you for going through this program with me this afternoon. Thank you.